So I'm Nicola López, and the work that you see behind me is two different series of work. The prints on my left are called Urban Transformations, and it's a series of 6 prints that were made in close collaboration with Tandem Press, which is based in Madison, Wisconsin. And these prints are in some ways very typical of a lot of my print work, which is something that has kind of driven a lot of my art production for many years. I'm very close to the medium of printmaking. And the way that they unfold is, I was very lucky to be working with Tandem Press. I went in there and started drawing. A lot of my work kind of starts out really with drawing and then unfolds into printmaking. Kind of the vocabulary of images piles up as I start to make different prints of different individual parts. And in these prints, you'll see, if you get to see the kind of detail, you'll see that there are different building materials, different parts of buildings, of infrastructure, of electrical and plumbing parts, and it really kind of speaks to the built landscape. And so it's almost like you took a city and kind of gutted the skin and have all of these insides, and they've taken on a very different form. So I have all these different playing parts that I've drawn out and turned into prints. And then I put them back together. And so that's the kind of improvisational part where I've made my own building blocks and then start to build these different compositions. So each of these 6 prints is built out of the same vocabulary, the same kind of building parts, but each one is improvised in a different way. So each of these prints is kind of a unique image in that kind of unfolding. What often happens with my work is that these same kind of printed parts will end up being larger installations, even room size, kind of architectural scale, and that's how kind of printmaking ends up being the seeds of many of the other things that I do. On my other side, there's a video, and that kind of is another example of this process of working, where I had a number of prints that were individually cut out. So all the buildings that you see as literally being the building blocks, one building being piled on the next building, piled on top to form what eventually grows into a very large architectural construction, is just a series of prints being put together and photographed at every step. And so it's a stop motion animation. And then narratively, what happens in this piece is that once that building is kind of built, something goes wrong, right? And something kind of falls apart, and eventually the whole building tumbles and then is built again. And for me, I'm really interested in the way that we think about our built environment, and the way that you look out into the city, the urban landscape, and you see all these layers of history kind of piled on top of one another. You see the way that we kind of structure certain cultural values and even fears, in the built landscape around us. And this particular, video is really inspired by the story of the Tower of Babel, where this structure is built to reach the heavens in this kind of effort to unify the built world, and in this kind of emblematic gesture of ambition and dreams. But there's also this hubris. You can't build that high, and I think that the work points to the ways in which this built world is unsustainable on its own, and kind of requires a relationship with the natural world that's much more thought out than the way that we're building a lot of our world at the moment. And so hence the kind of tumbling down, but then that impetus is there again, and I feel like I'm, as a person and artist, really caught in the middle of it. I'm not here to critique it one-sidedly. I'm here to say, this is what's happening, and this is part of what I do also, even as an artist, this desire to build, this desire to make, this desire to reach further. But it needs that reconsideration, and it needs that kind of recalibration to be more in tune with the world in a sustainable way.